Starseed Ascension welcomes guests from a variety of backgrounds to gain perspectives, experiences, and information in the paranormal, spiritual, and ET space. We are a community of spiritual explorers who seek to help raise consciousness. And now, here's your host of Starseed Ascension, Jamie Voss Love.
Good evening and welcome back again to Starseed Ascension. And just wanted to say hello. I'm your host, Jamie Voss Love, and this is my fourth show, and I've been in a different location every show. And so I'm just recently wrapped up what I'm calling the Andromedan Galaxy Tour, which I'll speak to on a later show. But tonight we have a very special guest. Her name is Lyra Rae, and we actually met at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles. We were both on the Starseed speaker panel, and she was also a guest, or I would say a guide more so, and facilitator on Starseed Ascension, the container that we do. And she actually did a star family and light language activation and shared her knowledge and wisdom on ETs and UFOs and experiences. So I'm so happy to have her back tonight to go into some of those things on a deeper level, hear more information, and share that with you guys. And so a little bit more about Lyra Rae. She is a world-renowned multidimensional healer and spiritual life coach specializing in DNA activation, twin flames, which is always a hot topic, and starseeds. And so she is known for her incredible psychic gifts and connections and experiences with extraterrestrial races. And she has an uncanny ability just to help others open up their own psychic channel and abilities and connect with their star family, which is really amazing. And so when that happens, they begin to have experiences themselves. And so, yeah, we'll dive into all of that a little bit more. So please welcome Lyra Rae.
Hi.
Hi, Lyra.
That was a lot of bragging.
Did I go too deep into that?
No, it was perfect.
All right, wonderful. I have to give you some accolades. But yeah, so good to see you as always. Your energy is just so beautiful, and just wanted to, for people that may not have heard about you, just tell us a little bit about your journey and maybe about, what sort of being a starseed means to you in terms of like how you have gone through that and being, a child and a beautiful being with the abilities that you have. What's that been like for you?
Okay, well, I'll give you the short version of my catalyst for my spiritual awakening for now. Maybe that's something we can go deeper into in a little bit.
Sure.
But pretty much my spiritual awakening hit me like a fucking train. And so I was always like somewhat spiritual, but I never believed in aliens or anything until I saw my first UFO. And it was late one night. Me and my friend were driving, and a UFO. This is the first time that I had started to open my mind to the possibility of other life existing. And me and my friend were talking about it, and a UFO literally came out of the sky and landed right next to us. And that just flipped my world upside down and changed my life forever, and made me start questioning everything about the world that we live in. And that is what got me started on my spiritual path. And not too long after, I met my twin flame. And our initial separation was what led me on my path to healing and what made me get started with multidimensional healing and Reiki, and just continuing to learn all these different modalities, and just like a true Gemini in true Gemini fashion, just acquiring as much knowledge as I can about everything.
Taking it from all channels.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, yes, I mean, I want to go deeper into all of those things. So let's begin by just this UFO experience that landed. Can you speak a little bit more to just sort of where you were and what transpired? What?
Sure. So this is a very, very long story. And I actually created a YouTube series explaining all of the details of everything that happened. And my YouTube channel is called Princess of Pleiades. So if you guys wanted to hear the full, I think 17 episode series and go deep into the story, then that's where you can watch it. But I'll give you the basics of what happened. So October 13th, 2016, me and my friend were in Florida, where I was living at the time, and we were coming back from a Halloween event, going back to his house, and he lived in the middle of nowhere, Florida. And we were talking about the possibility of aliens existing in the car on the drive home. And we got really deep into the conversation. And then at some point I said to him, you know what? I want to see a UFO. And not long after I said that, I saw this really bright star in the sky that caught my attention, but I didn't really think anything of it. I was just noticing it, and I didn't say anything to him. And we kept driving, and it looked like this star was getting lower as we were getting closer to his house. And so I just kind of kept my eye on it, and it was much, much brighter than all the other stars. And as we got closer to his house, I was watching it, and it was getting lower and lower and lower. And then it got to the point where it was so low that I was thinking, okay, that's not a star, that's a plane. And then driving closer to his house, and it's like 2:30 in the morning. It's just like pitch black, like woods on either side of us, and there's nobody else on the road. And so this plane is like getting so low that I was like, oh my God, like this plane is gonna land. And I know there's not an airport in that woods. I'm like, some shit's about to go down right now. Like, what is going on? And I still didn't say anything to him, but I'm just like watching it.
Thinking the plane's going to crash in the woods?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like starting to freak out a bit. And I'm just like, oh my God, is this really about to happen? Is this plane really going to like crash on the side of the road right now? Okay. And so as the plane was landing, it was like landing at the same time that we were driving by. And as we drove by, there was a clearing that it landed in. And as it landed, we saw this huge, like, alien looking spacecraft. And so as we were driving by and it was landing, I was like at the point where I was like, oh my God, okay, I have to say something. So I was just kind of like in disbelief of what I was seeing, kind of like joking to him. I was like, ha 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 ha, look, a UFO, like hitting him. I'm like, look. And then we both turn and I was like, holy shit, that really is a UFO. And then we look at each other and like start screaming. It was like something out of a comedy movie. It was hilarious, but terrifying, because I was like, oh my God, they literally heard me say, I want to see a UFO, and came down out of the sky and landed right next to us. So I am just like panicked, and he is panicked, and we were just like screaming in disbelief of what we were seeing. And I was like, oh my God, drive. So then his house is only a couple of minutes away from there. So we drove and parked, and I was like crying, and I was like, oh my God. We were just like trying to process what we just saw. And then after a few minutes, we're like, okay, like let's go back and see if it's still there. And then we drove back, and it was gone. But that was the first night in a series of events of wild and crazy alien experiences that happened in that area in St. Cloud, Florida.
Wow. And what did the spacecraft look like? Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah. Oh, I should have sent you a picture of it. I made a 3D render of it. I wonder if I can like get it up on my phone real quick. But it was kind of like hexagon shaped. And it had a bright light on the bottom of it. And it had like these red and green kind of lights like on two of the corners. But yeah, it was like a really interesting shape because it was like a hexagon.
Wild.
I don't know if you can see this very well.
Yeah.
That's like a top view. Here's a side view.
Very cool.
And let me see. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but this is the 3D render that I made of exactly what we saw.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And so what a profound experience. It kind of like broke open or sort of, put you on this path and was a catalyst for that. Have you, and I want to go into the ETs as well. But Lyra, have you seen, I know you connect with other people and you guys have seen UFOs before. How many UFOs have you seen?
Oh my God, I can't even count. Like that, that was the beginning of just like the craziness that it opened me up to. So from that day on, I started to have such a huge relationship with these extraterrestrial beings and went down this rabbit hole of figuring out like why me kind of a thing. Like,
Sure.
Why were they listening to me? Why did they come down when I said something? And after a long months and months of research and meditation and learning and discovery, come to find out that I'm a starseed and they're my star family. And they have always been around me in this lifetime, but they chose me to have these profound experiences to share with other people to help them not be afraid of ETs so that they can start to make more contact with us.
Beautiful. So that's what you would feel as part of your role in this, having these experiences, finding out that you're a starseed and then helping others. That's part of the mission, is to help create messages of love over fear with these extraterrestrials.
Yes, definitely. Because there is so much fear when it comes to the unknown. And it terrified me to think about the possibility of aliens existing before that happened to me. That was my worst fear. That was my absolute worst fear. So I chose to never think about it. And then it was put right in front of my face, and I had to be opened and try to understand. And when we actually went back to that spot in the woods multiple times. And every time we went back, something else absolutely crazy happened. And we ended up meeting with these beings in person. And I started to build a really strong relationship with them. And all I ever got from them was like the most beautiful, loving energy that I've ever experienced in my life. And it's like nothing else that you could feel here on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I share that same like pre-fear of aliens before the experience. So I'm with you on that one. And I love that's so beautiful, you know, what just the work and the messages that you have around that. Could you share a little bit about who these beings were or are that you met with? Who is your star family?
Yeah, so the four specific beings that showed up were, I think, what people call like the tall whites or whatever. They're like between 7 and 10 feet tall, slender, pale white skin, and their face it kind of resembles more of what you would think of like a stereotypical gray,
Mm-hmm.
but smaller. And their features are a little smaller. Like they still have the black eyes, but they're not quite as big, and just like very thin nose and mouth, and like no hair or ears or anything like that. But yeah, so that's the best way that I could describe them, is like white skinned, taller, gray looking beings.
And did they, when you communicated with these beings, was that telepathically?
Yeah, so everything from our communication was telepathic. And even when we met with them in person, they could not speak out loud to us. And it kind of like, and my friend was there for the whole thing, man. Like, which I'm so thankful for, because if it was just me, I literally would have thought that I was crazy. But every single time we went back, I brought him with me, and we brought like one or two other friends too. So it's like
You have
multiple
witnesses.
people experienced the same thing that like we were seeing, and it blew everybody's mind, like just absolutely. But yeah, so like we were seeing the same thing, and it took us a minute because I kept trying to speak out loud to them and I wasn't getting anything back. And I was like, what is going on? And then I just got like a thought like put in my head that was like, oh, like maybe they communicate telepathically, and not the same way that we do. So then I started to try to be open to receiving messages from them. And at the beginning, it was very difficult because I had never really like meditated that much before or anything. And I didn't have like the clearest mind. So it was very hard for me to receive anything that they were trying to tell me. But I would get like images in my head, or I would get like strong feelings. And then after a long time of really just like wanting to have that relationship with them, I started working on meditation really hard. And within a few months, I was able to communicate with one of the beings, which is the one that I felt the closest to out of all of them. I started to communicate with him telepathically from my home. I no longer had to go there to do it.
Yeah. And what star system do you feel these beings are from?
They are around Arcturus, but they're not necessarily like Arcturian. I don't know. The way that they explain it to me is like they live in their spaceship and they can go live wherever they want. But as far as like the race goes, I'm not sure if you would categorize them as Arcturian because they live and work in the Arcturus star system. Like I don't really know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's just like us, if we go to another country and work there, but we're from, you know, different place or whatever.
Yeah.
So what you mentioned, and I remember we talked a little bit about this before, that your description of the beings that you have connected with, there have been other people, and your experience obviously is very positive, benevolent, loving. supportive, and other people seem to like have had, experiences maybe that were a little bit more fearful. What, in your opinion, why do you feel like the Greys, for instance, have a bad rep?
Okay, I love talking about this because I have had nothing but the absolute best experiences with Greys, and I absolutely love them to death. And I know that they get like a bad reputation. So I would love to help clear that up.
Yes, please.
So there are many different types of Greys. And it's not just like one. And I think that's where people get really confused, is because I hear a lot of different things about them. Like they're not even real, they're just AI, and they don't have the ability to understand people's emotions, and they just like abduct people. And that's why people have bad experiences, because they're like really harsh with their abductions because they can't understand that humans have emotions or whatever. And I completely, well, I disagree in the sense that, like I said, there are many different types of Greys. Sure, there are probably some that are like that and maybe don't have that empathy like some of the other ones do. But the ones that I've been in contact with are extremely, extremely empathetic and very understanding of human emotions. And all of them that I've met just have the best sense of humor ever. And I think they're hilarious. Like they love to like play pranks on people, and they love to joke around and mess around, and it's just so funny to me. Like it cracks me up. Like with these beings that I met, like the one that I was talking about, the one that I have like the strongest connection with, like he started fucking with me, man. And he would, like, whenever we would go to the woods, we would get freaked out because it's like dark and spooky and we're in the woods by ourselves. And then, but he would like come make these like crazy, like scary, like horror movie sounds. And then I found out later that that was just him like playing a joke on us. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so funny. Like if I was an alien and I had like a human that I knew who didn't know me, like I'd be doing the same shit. Or like that's why he would like dropped down with the UFO like that, like right there to scare the shit out of us, because it's like he knows me better than I know myself. And he knew that I would initially be freaked out, but it's like I would understand later. And it's like later when you think back about it, I'm like, oh my God, that is so funny. Like he just did that because I said I want to see UFO. And he's like, okay. And then he did it because it's like funny. It's like a joke. And I don't know. He's just hilarious. They like make me laugh a lot. I'm like, that's totally my sense of humor. Like I would totally be like scaring the shit out of humans that I knew who like didn't know me. Like that's such a good opportunity.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it's a journey though. Like, like you were saying, like I definitely shared that fear, before the experience. That is funny. Like it's kind of a clever way, right, to navigate just the fear that's held in our body, and overcome it with joy and laughter.
Yeah, and that was something that I really had to learn how to do when I was interacting with them in person, because it's like, okay, when you are able to remove the fear, then how do you feel? And this is something that I still tell people all the time when they're starting to interact with beings and have like multidimensional experiences or psychic experiences with like spirits or any kind of interdimensional being. and like remove the fear, and then what is left? Like, do you feel more of a negative energy, or do you feel like this being is here to help, and do you feel like this like loving energy? And that's how you're able to kind of differentiate whether it's a malevolent or benevolent being.
Yeah, beautiful. And so when people are coming to you for support and making these connections, do you find that they had an experience and they want to learn more, or there's something inside of them that is interested and it's prompted them to reach out to try to create or activate these communications? Which one do you see?
So most of the people that come to me they know that they're starseeds, or they think they might be a starseed, but they have not yet had an alien experience, but they really want to.
Yeah.
And this just happened to be a side effect of my healings, is whenever I would work on someone, they would start seeing UFOs, and they started having like astral experiences with ETs. So that was something that I started to kind of like include in my description of kind of like what you would get from a healing session with me, because it happened to just about every single person that I worked on. And it's like I'm opening up some sort of block to allow them to connect to their star family. So that has been very cool. And not even just in my healing sessions, but even in person, I have shown so many people their first UFOs. And it's like after I had this experience, they were just always around me. And so I started to attract a lot of starseeds with this new sort of energetic signature that I had. And I started taking starseeds out because I like to go out in nature. And whenever I would go out with people, like we would always see UFOs. And I remember I went on specifically a starseed retreat this one time, and I think we had like 20 people with us who came to me because they were so like intrigued by what I had said in the group about having these real like in-person alien experiences, because all of them were like, oh my God, I've never had that, but that's so cool. Like, I want to see that. Like, can you show us some shit? And I was like, yeah, I guess. Let's go. So we all went out, and we like, it was just wild. It was just so crazy. Like, we all went out at night and we walked down to this spot on the lake, and I think we saw like 5 crafts that were like really close to us, but the most memorable one to me was there was a flying saucer shaped UFO, and it was like as the group was walking down to the lake, and like right as we were getting to our spot, I just like heard this very faint sound, and I looked over and I just see this like flying saucer just like right by us, and I'm like, oh my God.
Chilling, checking up on you.
Yeah, it was so crazy. So like some of the people saw it in time, some didn't. But we saw a bunch of others. We saw one that was like underneath the water in the lake, and then the grays came and they were like in between the trees, and everybody went back. We all went back to our hotel rooms after that. Like, wow, that was wild.
Wow. And where was this location at?
That was in Mount Ida, Arkansas.
Okay. I was going to ask you because like you, I know, are like a UFO magnet. They're just like always kind of buzzing around or following you, or, go where you go. Are there any other hot spots though that you've kind of picked up on just through your work, with others over the years?
Yeah, well, I feel like Mount Ida is definitely a hot spot. And I think that's why they chose that for the Starseed retreat, because there is like a quartz crystal mine there.
Oh, nice.
So I think that it's just like a very like high vibration. So there's probably a bunch of activity there already anyways. And then Mount Shasta is always 10 out of 10 with the UFO activity. And it's my absolute favorite place in the world. And I highly recommend that every single person visits there in their lifetime. It's just life-changing and beautiful and magical. I feel like, okay, so I lived in Oregon for a while. I feel like Oregon has really bad energy. Like, I know people see UFOs there a lot, but I don't know. When I lived there, I was like, these are not like the friendly ones.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to pick your brain on that as well. So you said not the friendly ones. What do you feel like is sort of this ET agenda? Is it benevolent, malevolent, or is it both? Like what is your perspective on these sort of negative and positive energies?
I mean, both. This is the planet of duality. So with everything, you're always, I don't give a shit what anybody else says, because people want to live in denial and be like, no, it's only good, it's only bad. No, it's always, always, always going to be both. As long as you live here, I don't care how much you are trying to meditate and vibrate above the third dimension. There will always be duality as long as you live here with everything. So, yes, there are ETs with positive agendas and ETs with negative agendas. And a lot of ETs are coming here to work on their own projects and stuff. It's not all necessarily about the humans either. Like, there are some ETs that are here for the humans, and there are some ETs that are here to study the plants and animals or the earth or whatever else they have going on. But it's a very interesting place for a lot of them to just come do their work, whatever that is.
Yeah. And so you said that like you were kind of tapping into more of that negative energy in the Oregon space. Did anything specific happen or was it just sort of a feeling?
I mean, I went camping a couple of times and it was just like such bad vibes. I don't know. And then I was thinking for my birthday that I was going to go to Crater Lake. And then I had like this astral experience in a dream where one of my guides came to me and they were like, do not ever go there. Like, just don't. It's a really bad place. And I was like, wow, okay, I guess I'm not going to do that. But then I don't know, like sometimes it's different for different people. Maybe it just wasn't good for me. Maybe it'll be good for someone else. Same thing with like Sedona. Me and Sedona do not get along at all. We are not friends. I have the worst time whenever I go there, but some people love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. How it just depends on your vibration frequency and, whatever ley line that you're sort of wired to, I guess. Okay. Well, awesome. And then what is your connection well, actually, before I ask that, I wanted to ask you, I know you channel light language. How did that activate and come online for you?
So actually my Reiki teacher was kind of the one that helped me learn a lot about like starseeds, and she was the one that gave me the activation to channel light language because she was the first person that I had met who also had this like spiritual connection with these ET beings. And it was really awesome to have her as my Reiki teacher. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like someone that's like me. I thought I was the only one.
Yeah.
But
Feeling
she
seen and heard.
What?
I said feeling seen and heard and like you're
Yeah.
connected. Yeah, somebody who gets you. I love it.
Yeah. So that was really cool. So that was the first time that I had ever heard it, was when she would do that for me. And then it just started to flow naturally for me. And then that was something that I was able to activate in other people too. And then they started to be able to speak light language. It was just like a cool, like, waterfall effect.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I want to get into your connection with the Pleiades and VR, which is something that I saw, when I first met you at Conscious Life Expo, which was really amazing. But before I do, I realized that as I was giving you bragging, as you called it in the beginning, too much bragging, I forgot to brag about one other thing, which is so special to you in your role, is mom. You are mom, right? And to this beautiful, beautiful, gifted, special child, Amethyst, who's so adorable. And I wanted to ask just your experiences as like being a starseed and being mom and seeing her, and just like some things you've noticed, because I was thinking about this the other day, but so I had this experience when my dad, who has passed away, but when he was sick in the hospital, there was this one day I was feeling really sad, and I was in the waiting room, and this little like starseed baby, like couldn't even have been like much older than 2. She comes up to me and knows I'm sad, just knows, and doesn't know me, and she just grabs my hands and starts dancing with me and wants me to dance with her. So I'm in the waiting room. I have like tears in my eyes, and like I'm dancing with this little like baby that knows. Like she's like, you just gotta dance. And it just totally shifted my energy and brought me so much like love to my heart. But anyways, whenever I think about like Amethyst, I think about this such like, child that's connected to all of this light. So you want to talk a little bit about Amethyst?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I had met my future children many years ago in the astral on a Pleiadian ship. And I had seen a girl and a boy, and the girl was older than the boy. And I had seen them in a few different instances, a couple times on the Pleiadian ship, and then one time in a home on Earth. And I just felt like those were my future children that I was supposed to have with my twin flame. And when me and my twin flame got back together, I got pregnant with our daughter, Amethyst. And at that point, I was just like 1,000,000% in my upper chakras, like very, very, very spiritual energy. I did not actually realize how ungrounded I was from the earth plane. And then I got pregnant, and it slammed me back down into reality. I lost all my psychic abilities. I was not able to connect to any of my spirit guides anymore. And I got so sick that I could not move out of bed for pretty much the entire time that I was pregnant. And I was hardly able to do anything for myself. And it was a year-long dark night of the soul for sure.
Wow.
And it was just like the craziest experience. And I never expected my pregnancy to go that way, because I knew that she was like a starseed baby. I thought I would become more psychic during my pregnancy, and it was the total opposite. And it was just like the absolute worst experience of my life. And well, now she's 2.5 and she's amazing and I love her. But it was just wild, like to go from like being in like living in my upper chakras 24/7 to being slammed down into like the root chakra. Then it's like survival, like all of a sudden. It was just like the craziest experience. And then after she was born was when I was completely lower chakras. And I only feel like now I'm starting to like find the balance again between the two. So it's been like a wild ride for sure. Definitely not easy because I don't really have support either. It's like me and my husband, and then we don't have any friends or family that can help us. So it's just been us, and it's been really, really, really hard. But she's awesome, and I love her. And she's definitely my psychic little baby, and like me and her super, super, super connected. And sometimes like we even have the same dreams. Like she'll wake up and tell me about her dreams. I'm like, that's what I dreamt about too.
I love it. That's what I was, I kind of tune in right before the show, and that was the one question that kept coming up. Ask her about the dreams, and connected to amethyst. So I was curious to see how that was going to unfold. That's wild though, Lyra. So what you said, that you do hear that sometimes, right? Women become more psychic when they're pregnant, right? With especially starseed, or his children, beautiful children. But do you think that's because the fact that you were operating, so you already were so psychic that you needed to ground to have that balance and just sort of like bring that frequency into the earth plane?
I guess so. I think it was definitely something that I was supposed to experience, but it was so hard for me to go from feeling like I have so much support from my spirit guides, and like I live off of my intuition. Like everything is like psychic, and I'm just like always in my head and always getting information about everything. And to not have any of that there anymore was very strange and felt extremely lonely. So yeah, it was wild for sure, but I feel much more balanced now than I ever have before.
Beautiful. Well, I can't wait to hear more as she grows and develops. So okay, you mentioned also twin flame journey quite a bit with you and your husband. Talk to us about what does the twin flame mean to you? Just because there's so many definitions and the way people describe it. So how do you describe it?
In my opinion, there is only one definition, and there is only one twin flame path. And someone either is your twin flame or they're not. And I think a lot of people get confused with soulmates and twin flames, which are different.
What is the difference?
So a soulmate is someone that you've had a significant relationship with in a past life that comes into this lifetime to teach you a very hard lesson. And it's not something that you realize until the end of the relationship, almost always romantic partners. And I always say, like, soulmates are awesome, but they are really here to teach you a very difficult lesson. And yeah, you'll always, I always look back at my soulmate relationships and I'm like, wow, that was so important for me to learn. And I loved that person so much, but it was definitely hard to learn it that way, like through a romantic partner. And then your twin flame is like the other half of your soul. So like when you meet this person, and I now that I'm married to mine, I do truly feel like it is an experience. Like it's not necessarily about the, you know what? No. This is good. I'm gonna go down a whole nother rabbit hole if I go that way. So I'm just gonna stick to the basics. So your twin flame is like the other half of your soul. When you guys meet each other, you feel this like crazy connection, unlike anything you've ever experienced before. And it feels like that hole that maybe you didn't even know was there is finally filled when you meet this person. And the more you talk, the more you find out you have in common. And then it's like, wow, oh my God, we're literally the same exact person. That's crazy. And then at a certain point, you guys start to mirror each other. And by mirror, I mean the flaws that are within yourself, you start to see in the other person. And then one of the two usually gets freaked out by the relationship and runs away. And then the other one is left like in the deepest heartbreak that you'll ever experience in your entire life. And so it's called like the runner and the chaser. And they both go through a dark night of the soul to find their true selves, and both in different ways. But they end up at the same place, which is releasing codependence. And when you finally get to the point that you feel 100% completely comfortable, like if you're never going to be in a relationship ever again for the rest of your life, I'm good with that. I'm 1,000,000% okay with being by myself for the rest of my life. Then that's when you guys will come back together. And sometimes there are multiple reunions and separations, and then a reunion and then a separation. And it's just more work that needs to be done on the individual self. And then when you guys finally get to the point of whole, complete healing and releasing of codependence is when you guys can finally be together for real. But I always tell people, don't even think about that part, because the goal is to just stop thinking about that person. Just completely release them from your life. You have to completely forget about them before you can ever be with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's like this, almost like that DNA strip where they come together in union for a little bit, but it's like a checkpoint almost, right? Like, are we okay? We still have work. Separate, come back. So did you have that with your husband? Were you guys ever in a state of separation, or have you been in union the whole time?
Yeah, no, no twin flames are ever in union the whole time. If you are, you're not twin flames.
There you go.
So yes, we had our initial separation. I was the chaser. He was the runner. It was the most devastating thing I've ever experienced. He got freaked out by how too perfect the relationship was. And almost always the runner will go back to an ex, which is a karmic partner.
Yeah.
And a lot of their work will be done through that karmic partner. And for the chaser, there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to focus on yourself. And the more work you do on yourself, your twin flame is going to be doing the same work on themselves. You don't have to think about, well, I don't know if they're doing it. I hope they're doing what they need to work on. They are, as long as you are. And so then we separated for 2 years, and he did not talk to me at all for 2 straight years. And then we came back together for like 2 weeks. And then the same thing happened, and we separated again for another 2 years. And again, no contact. He did not talk to me at all for the entire 2 years. And then I was finally able to get to a place where I felt very comfortable being by myself, not being with another romantic partner. I told the universe, I'm like, I want him or I want nobody. And I'm content being with nobody, because I'm pretty sure I'm never going to have him, because he hasn't talked to me in 2 years. And then we had our reunion again, and I could tell that he had done a lot of work on himself, and so had I. And I had to really think about whether I wanted to be with him this time or not, because I had just gotten to the point where I was comfortable being alone forever. And I decided to give it another shot, knowing that he very well could decide to leave again. But he promised that this time he was ready, and he wouldn't. And then we moved to Oregon and had a baby together.
And now you're in union.
Yeah, we've been together ever since. It's been 3 and a half
married now.
years now. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, that's a journey, that's for sure. Thank you for sharing that. So we still have a few minutes left, and I wanted you to talk to us. VR Pleiades world. Talk to us about what is it, and
Okay.
yeah.
So Pleiades World is my VR project that I debuted at Conscious Life Expo, whatever year that was that we went.
Yep.
And so it's still a work in progress, and it's pretty much a VR experience that's based off of my real life alien experiences. So you put on the headset and you can see these different worlds and the interior of Ben, the alien that I was talking about before, the interior of his ship, how it looks like exactly. You can walk around it and meet with him in person. And I'm very, very proud of it. And it's definitely like my passion project. Like I said, it's still a work in progress. But the coolest part about it to me is that they were all real things that I have seen or experienced that I got to recreate in this VR 3D world. And I just wanted to help use it as a tool for people to interact with these beings that I have sculpted and created to look as realistic as possible to what they actually look like, so that you can meet with them and interact with them in person, so that when they come to you in real life or in the astral or in your dreams or whatever, and you see them, you can know that they're real and it's nothing to be afraid of.
I love it. And I was able to experience, I don't know if, that has changed or expanded since then, but it is amazing. And it really is like you're stepping into another dimension, another world, another galaxy. It's amazing. So Lyra, are you like, how do you work with the graphics of all of that? Are you the artist, or do you work with someone else, as in a team that helps create that image or bring it to life?
So lucky for me, part of the work that my twin flame husband did while we were apart is he learned 3D. So yay, that was perfect for me because I already had this idea of something I wanted to create. So then when we came back together, I was like, oh my God, you know how to do 3D? We're going to create this really cool thing in VR. So we've been sitting down and we work on it together. And I pretty much tell him, like, this is going to go there and this is going to look like that. And we're going to have this. And then I go through and pick the colors and textures and everything. And he makes it a reality. And it's like awesome. It's the coolest thing ever to be able to do that with him and have it look so perfectly accurate to how I see it in my head. It's like the coolest thing. And he's really talented with 3D, and his specialty is like realistic 3D design.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been really cool. But the project's been kind of on hold for a while because we need funding to be able to continue on it.
Yeah. So, let's put that out there. If anyone that is listening is interested in this project and an investment that can help bring this, to life on a greater scale, are you okay with putting that out there into the universe through this space?
Yeah, definitely. I would love if we were able to continue this and make it become this like really cool mainstream thing that everybody can use and enjoy. I have a lot of plans for it. There's a lot of things that it could end up being. And I would eventually love it to be sort of like a social platform where people can go into the world and meet other starseeds from like all over the globe.
So cool. So much you can do with that. Like, yeah, I get excited just thinking about it. So I can't wait to see. I mean, that will come to fruition. I can't wait to see the journey on that. Lyra, we just have under a minute left. So anything else that you just feel called to share, or ways that people can connect with you if they're interested in any of the things that you spoke to tonight?
Yeah, like I said, my full series is called Alien Experiences on my YouTube channel, Princess of Pleiades. And my Instagram is Priestess of Pleiades. So give me a follow on there. And yeah, I think that's it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing all these beautiful experiences and wisdom. And yeah, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.